Have you ever felt like you're holding it all together on the outside, but inside you're exhausted, anxious, and running on fumes? My guest today knows that story all too well. After years of working in oncology, Sarah hit her own breaking point with burnout, chronic stress, and even breast implant illness. In this conversation, she shares how she reset her health, reclaimed her energy, and now helps other women do the same. If you've been living in survival mode, this episode is for you. Still trusting a system that profits from your sickness? Faith Over Pharma is here to flip the script and help you heal the way God designed. Do you ever feel like no matter how hard you push, another workout, another supplement, another late night, you're still exhausted, stressed, and wondering why your body won't bounce back? Here's the thing. Stress doesn't just wear you down mentally, it actually changes things at the cellular level, shutting down repair, draining energy, and throwing your whole system off balance. That's why I'm such a fan of phototherapy patches. They use the power of a light to signal to your body what it was designed to do: boost stem cell activity, calm stress, and restore energy naturally. If you're tired of just coping and ready to actually feel good again, I'd love to show you how these can support you. You can book a free consultation with me at susangladstein.com/phototherapy. Have you ever looked like you have it all together on the outside? Your family, career, life is moving forward like you want it to, but inside you're exhausted, anxious, and wondering how much longer can you keep running on empty? Listen, you are not alone. And my guest today knows exactly what that's like. After 20 years of working in oncology, Sarah experienced her own health collapse from burnout. And when traditional medicine couldn't really give her answers, she discovered the true root of her struggles, and that was chronic stress. And today, she's a stress and anxiety reset coach who helps high achieving women break free from that constant burnout, learn how to calm the constant stress, and step into lasting confidence and clarity. And I'm so honored and excited to have you here today, Sarah. I would love to hear a little bit more about your story, as I can really relate to it so much. I'd love to hear kind of what happened and what led you into the work that you're doing today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Susan. I'm honored as well because when I met you, I felt like I was talking to another version of myself. So, kindred spirits here. Yeah, I started out, I always knew I wanted to be of service and help people. And I started in oncology because what better group of people to help than those that are struggling with the cancer journey? And at the time, I prided myself in being a workaholic and really focusing on other people's needs. So I didn't have to focus on my own needs. So I became an expert at it. And instead of wearing it as a badge of honor, my body decided to rebel and start to shut down, literally start to shut down. I lost my cycle for 2 years. And at the time, I was fine because I wasn't ready to have kids. So I'm like, oh, one less thing to worry about, being naive in my 20s. But when other things started to happen, I had severe digestive issues. I would be in the fetal position at night and then have to put on a happy face during the day in front of clients. It just got to be too much. And I had gone to doctors. I'm part of the Western medicine healthcare system, so I'm not knocking it. Also, they're going off of what they know, and they don't know our bodies like we do. And so I had three exploratory surgeries. I was put on really strict dietary protocols. I was put on metformin despite not being diabetic, triple the dose that most diabetics take. And they couldn't find anything. And so when they suggested a fourth exploratory surgery just to see what was going on, I thought, okay, this is just too much. And so at the same time, I had signed up for yoga teacher training only to learn what the heck they were saying in the classes, those Savasana words or the Sanskrit words. And through that slowing down and the different lifestyle it was encouraging me to partake in, like watching what I eat and paying attention to how I feel and making choices that were right for my body, that's when my symptoms started to get better. And within 6 to 9 months of that teacher training, all of my symptoms were gone and my cycle returned and it was on schedule every 30 days from thereafter. So it was really the start, I guess, a blessing because now I am, but that getting sick because of chronic stress, um, and chronic stress, for those that don't know, it's I didn't know I was stressed. That was my baseline, was chronic stress. It wasn't like a car accident or a death in the family or something severe where we kind of know and we can uh, get the support we need. It was a baseline where I just was never resting and I was constantly going, that my body told me, no, no more. I can't sustain this.
I can relate to a lot of this so much, but I'm really glad that you brought up the fact that your baseline was chronic stress because I will ask people that I'll ask clients about their stress levels, and it's like it's just normal to them. And even when we sort of peel back the layers on, nutritionally or how they feel, and I was this way, like I didn't know how bad I felt until I felt good because that was just my norm. And so I can understand that that would be so incredibly frustrating to kind of just be like, yeah, well, we don't know. And you're like, but I still feel like junk. You've done all this stuff, you've given me these things, and I still feel like junk. Like there's still something there. And I'm like, I'm a little bit impressed that they even put you on a strict diet because that's not usually in the mainstream realm of, protocols to follow for things. So that's kind of surprising to me. But obviously, this led you to what you're doing today and helping people who are in that state and maybe just identifying what that state even is because they probably don't know. I definitely came from the place of like busyness was a badge of honor and I was always going 24/7 and to try to take any kind of rest day or break from workouts, working out, all the things was like a complete foreign concept to me. So tell us some more about what you do today and how that came from your experiences.
Yeah, thank you. Well, so I just want to clarify, they had not put me on the protocols. I was seeking Western medicine and my own coach, or she was a functional medicine doctor at the time. And now there's lovely coaches like you that have walked the walk and talked the talk and can really embody that, which was not the case 20 years ago. But yeah, I was really seeking help from two different avenues. And I do think that the functional medicine and the diet protocol helped, but it wasn't addressing the root cause. And that's what the Western medicine, as much as they were trying, they were just missing the boat because they didn't know my body. And it turned out at the time, I didn't know my body, which is what I've learned through doing this work. So, in doing this work, sometimes people come to me and they're like, well, regulating your nervous system is buzzwords right now. Everybody's talking about regulating your nervous system. And that's essentially what I help people do. But the misconception is that it's going to make everything fine. I'm going to be calm all the time. I'm never going to get stressed. I'm never going to get sick. Everything's going to be perfect. And that's not the case because actually stress is good. That's what helps us to, perform if we're in sports or, in the military or get a deadline met, is that stress. But it's when it's elevated and never has a time to come down, when your cortisol levels are always high, that's the problem. And so I would say the biggest win of what I experienced in doing this work and what I help my clients experience is that connection back with their body so that they can recognize when they're out of alignment, when they can recognize that, okay, I am really stressed out right now. I might not feel it or be able to rationalize it in my head, but my body knows I just feel off, and then make decisions based on that. And yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, no, that's all great. And I'm glad that you clarified because I was like, wow, I can't believe that
Yeah.
that would be the thing. But now it makes sense to me. And I too, like until I really understood how the body perceives stress, obviously it is a mechanism that is in, healthy doses, if you will. It is good because it keeps us safe. It's that fight or flight. But until I understood that like your switch is on or it's off, like it's not, there's no in between, there's not a 50%. And even something as simple as like skipping breakfast can put your body in that stress mode. Because I have a lot of girls that tell me, like, well, I'm just not hungry. And I'm like, you're probably not hungry because your body is in the stress mode. And if your body is in this, like, I need to run away from this bear that's chasing me to save my life, the last thing on its mind is to like digest food because that's your rest and digest is one, your flight or fight is the other. So it's one or the other. So you're probably not feeling hungry because you're in a stress state. So if you're in that boat, let me just say, stop and eat some breakfast. Okay, it'll change your life.
Yes, I know. I have to tell my daughter that all the time. She's like, I'm not hungry. I'm like, you need to learn. And that is the one deterrent of learning for kids is not having fuel in their body, proper fuel. So yeah, that's a great point for everybody.
Yeah, well, and I came from the era of like Captain Crunch and Cinnamon Toast Crunch for breakfast, and it was no wonder I struggled with my blood sugar my whole life because I just didn't know. But yeah, my 4-year-old, she knows protein is the primary thing that you have to have before you have any kind of carbs or treats. So
That's amazing. Yeah.
so both of us know, obviously, that stress can completely take over your body. So for someone who's listening who hasn't maybe made that connection just yet, how does chronic stress show up physically?
Great question. So there's a lot of different ways it can show up in the body, and sometimes it's a sneaky way where you don't really know. So people that are having trouble sleeping or that are waking up in the middle of the night, um, eh, stress and hormones go together. So a lot of times people are like, "Oh, it's perimenopause," but really, as you know, stress hormones affect everything. So your estrogen, your testosterone, your cortisol levels, it's all interconnected. What I see a lot with my clients is those subtle eye twitch. Oh, I'm just a little bit stressed out or I'm a little bit tired. It'll go away. And sometimes it does. And sometimes it's persistent for a while. Sometimes it's cramping in your lower abdomen or some digestive issues. Some people, it's loose stools. Some people, it's constipation. Of course, there's the tension in your body, your neck, your shoulders. It's even how you carry yourself. If you notice that your shoulders are slightly hunched forward, that anatomically changes the way your body is perceiving safety. And so a lot of us sit at the computer all day and our shoulders naturally hunch forward. And that is subconsciously signaling to our brain that we are not in a safe state. Because when you are open and expansive, that signifies safety because you don't do that if you're going to get chased by a bear, right? But we don't do that day to day. And so, even the way that we're holding our bodies, it can change our subconscious. It can change the messaging to our body that we are unsafe. So there's some physical that we can recognize, but then there's also some subconscious that our body is recognizing that our mind is not yet aware of.
I'm glad that you brought that up because it is, at my most stress time was sitting at a desk and I would spend just tons of money on, chiropractic care and had all this neck and back pain that would like oftentimes I'd have to like call in, off work because I just was in so much pain. And part of it was the way I had my computer set up was not ergonomically. In fact, the guy that came to do like the evaluation from the military was like, "This is the worst setup I've seen in 20 years." So I'm like, "Well, no wonder I have issues." But so I'm glad that you brought that up. But I know that you talk a lot about, resetting stress instead of just learning to management. Can you explain what that really means?
Yeah. So managing stress or anxiety or whatever we're feeling, people sometimes do with medication, and that's fine. I want to be very clear that I'm not knocking anyone who needs or wants the support of medications because it helps. And sometimes it is necessary in addition to these holistic techniques. But managing it can sometimes be viewed as like a band-aid over it. If you're solely relying on the pharmaceuticals to manage your stress or anxiety, you're not getting to the root cause of what is causing you stress. You're really just putting a band-aid when you need to stitch it up. And so what I do is help identify what is the root cause of your stress? What is your ideal baseline? And I do that through habits, through boundaries, through self exploration, and getting us to tune back into our bodies. And it looks a lot of ways for a lot of people, but one of the biggest ahas or something that I want to share through my journey, if I may, is when I went through all of this and learned how to regulate my stress, learned how to identify what was stressing me out and how to fix it, it was a journey. It wasn't a quick fix. And it really stemmed from starting to listen to my body and paying attention to the subtle cues so that I could make adjustments sooner and not have my body shout at me and shut down my cycle and shut down my digestive system and shut down itself. So that's really what I focus on. And one of the things in my journey that came from that was I had I had implants and I was eating really healthy. I was in the best shape of my life. I was getting plenty of sleep. I am walking the talk. So I'm not just telling clients to do it. I am practicing everything that I tell them to do. And I can't explain it other than saying I knew that I was slowly dying and I couldn't put my finger on it. I kept telling everyone, I feel like I'm dying and I don't know why. And I woke up one morning at 3 a.m. and I'm rarely on social media, but for some reason I opened up Facebook and a woman that I met 15 years ago and haven't talked to since, her post popped up and it talked about breast implant illness. I'm like, that's it. Those are the symptoms I have. That's exactly what I have. And I had mammograms that came back normal. I had ultrasounds that came back normal. All of my imaging, all of the physical exams came back normal. Blood work, normal. But I knew that there was something wrong. So I paid cash. I scheduled the surgery. I did it anyway. And when they went in to resect, they found that my body had attacked the implant, is the only way I can describe it, because the bag was half gone, just half gone, it disintegrated. So I had silicone leaking in my body from somewhere between 7 and 11 years. That was, nobody knew, but I had been chasing little health symptoms that, inflammation here or sore shoulder there, little things that could kind of be explained away or weren't severe enough or chronic enough that we could trace it back. But had I not gone on this journey, my first health journey of realizing chronic stress, had I not done the work and gone through this whole process, I would have just kept listening to the normal blood work and normal imaging scans and not known. And that literally saved my life because it's toxic. The doctor wouldn't even touch it with bare hands. It's so toxic. And so um, it really can be life saving when we're able to tune in and listen to our bodies and catch the misalignments early so that we don't have to kill ourselves in the process of coming back to homeostasis. Yeah.
Man, I'm so glad that you brought that up because that's something that I've had, a few conversations with friends and clients. I've, followed a couple of my friends that have gone on that journey of having explants done and like maybe somebody is listening now and don't even know that that's a thing, or maybe they're having some symptoms of it. What are some things that, like, maybe even for you, that was like, oh yeah, when you were reading that girl's post, that you were like, oh yeah, that's me, that maybe somebody else doesn't quite yet know that we could share with them today?
Yeah. So, from the moment I had it in, I had issues with my right side, and that's the one that ended up being ruptured. But I had inflammation in my hands. So my hands would swell. Sometimes my fingers wouldn't close. I had issues with my shoulder, the mobility. And even if it's not ruptured, by the way, my surgeon explained to me that we are changing our anatomy when we put something foreign into our body. So even if it's not ruptured, it's changing the way that your muscle sits and the way that your ligaments and tendons line up with your bone structure. So that from the get-go, it changes. And that expansion that I talked about earlier, where your body knows it's safe, it is changing that framework for your body to know it's safe. So right off the bat, again, no judgment. I did it. Um, and know that we are physiologically changing our safety mechanisms within our body. But then some of the gut issues were tied to that. You can have chronic dry eye that's tied to that. Chronic miscarriages can be tied to that. All of these that I had, but nobody until I had my consult with this surgeon, nobody tied it back to it could be caused by this. If you have autoimmune or a positive ANA test, blood test, your body is more likely to react to foreign objects in your body because your body gets confused on is it an intruder or is it part of your being? And I don't have an autoimmune, but I did test positive for ANA, and that's hereditary in my family, which predisposed me to having issues with implants. Skin irritations, you can have rashes, unexplained breakouts, you can start to develop allergies. All of these can be tied to those implants. And again, our bodies react differently, but it's being confused on what is part of us and what is it supposed to be protecting us from, and how that presents is different.
So good. Lots of good nuggets
Mhm.
of information there. But even back to, this the stress angle, there's probably someone that's listening right now who's in survival mode. What is one simple practice that she could start today to start to shift out of that stress cycle?
Yeah. So we get stressed and we worry typically about what happened in the past. We replay it, or we're worried about the future. When we're actually in the present moment and focusing on what's happening now, rarely are we stressed because that's within our control and we're experiencing it. So, coming back into your body, and it could just be taking one of your hands and gently squeezing your opposite hand, your finger in between, so that you're aware of the sensation. Don't hurt yourself, but just like a little, squeeze your finger to come back into your body. You can sit and notice how your feet are touching the floor and maybe wiggle your toes, coming back into your body and then working your way up to say, how do I actually feel? If I'm out of my head and I'm really tuning into my body, what is happening now? And when you get out of your head and you come back into the present, oftentimes people notice that the worries start to shift because you're like, well, wait a minute, actually, I'm kind of hungry, or I didn't really sleep that well last night. Maybe that's why, or maybe you're dehydrated. Those are very simple, basic, but oftentimes, if you start there, as you know, as a nutrition coach, those can really help to alleviate some of it. Now, there's severe cases of stress and anxiety that have to have deeper practices, but just to start right now that anyone can do is just grab a finger or wiggle your toes and just start to notice how you're actually feeling when you're in your body.
I love that. And I've not practiced that, but I'm going to start working that on my 4-year-old because that was one thing that I learned in my 40s was even just the power of taking a deep breath and how it slows your heart rate down and makes you think clear and brings you back. And so if your body is in a stress state, like mine chronically was when I was running late and always in like defense mode in the morning, I woke up late, my kids are late, and why do they move slower than molasses when we're already running late? And then there's yelling and all of the things. And then when you're stressed, it's like your hands aren't working so well. So it's like you're trying to grab your purse and your keys and then you're dropping them because like when you understand how your body works and it's just like helping you get away from the bear, as it were, all of that other stuff is not really that important. But if you just stop and take a deep breath. Your body's like, I thought I was stressed, but I'm breathing like a normal person. Maybe I'm not. And I did this on, well, she's 4 now, but we started this when she was, 2. And struggling with emotions and regulating them. So we would just stop and take deep breaths, and you can like physically see the difference that it makes. And I know that you even talk about, breath work as being a big part of what you teach. Why do you think that it's so powerful for stress and anxiety? And can you share a little technique with us to help us out when we're feeling like I'm running late and the kids are running slower than they should?
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to point out the way that you took in a breath to demonstrate the example of the power. You breathed in through your nose, which is key when you want to de-escalate or deactivate your system. So breathing in through your nose, it takes longer. It filters out toxins. It has feel good nerve endings in it. And it actually allows more oxygen to get into our bodies to slow down. So that's key because you can also do breath work that activates your system. And if you're already stressed, you don't want to be activating more. So breathing in through your nose, as you did, is perfect. And then breathing out through your mouth allows you to, one, it can be more forceful. Two, you made a little bit of sound, and that kind of mimics the brain's release of like anger. When people are angry and they start shouting, it's that release that they're trying to get out of their body. So without having to yell, you can sigh it out. And that again tells your brain, oh, I'm safe. I can make the noise, and whatever is not serving me is leaving my body. So, those are two important points. If you want to be activated, breathe in and out through your mouth. That will activate you. So, if you're lethargic or depressed or things like that. But for stress and anxiety, focus on your nose. A great technique, and it seems basic, but the Navy SEALs use it. So if anyone knows about being calm under pressure, it's them. It's called the box technique. And I do love this one because for people who are visual and need something to envision while they're breathing, it's great because everyone knows what a box looks like. So you inhale through your nose for a count of 4, and then you hold it at the top. So you're holding your breath for a count of 4. And you can imagine the lines of a box as you do this. Then you exhale for a count of 4. And then you hold your breath out for a count of 4. And so it works for every type of learner because one, you're experiential, you're doing it, you're focusing on your breath. Two, you can focus that box as you're inhaling, holding, exhaling, holding. So it's a great way. And then you can make noise as you're exhaling to again signal and get out any of that tension that's releasing from your body. So that's a really great one for people to practice. And you can do, you know, inhale for 3 or 5, whatever it is, but keep it the same so that it's an even box. So if you're inhaling for 3, hold 3, exhale 3, hold 3. But yeah, it's a great technique to start with.
That's amazing. Now, you and I initially connected because we are both retreat hosts and very passionate about helping people just step away from life to get quiet and get themselves better. So I would love for you to tell us a little bit about yours because you have one coming up in Costa Rica that I'm very excited for you about because I know it's going to be so transformative. So can you tell us a little bit about that? And is breathwork part of your lessons there?
Yes. Okay. Thank you for asking. Yes. So it is in Costa Rica in these beautiful, quiet, like in the jungle where you hear birds and have water and just this wonderful grounding experience. Yes, breath work is a piece of it. And I had someone ask me earlier today, do you need to know how to do breath work or meditation or yoga for any of this? And the answer is no. The people that come to me were like me. I used to get angry, like angry when people would be like, oh, just meditate on it or just go breathe because I didn't think I knew how. And then that spun all sorts of more anxiety and stress of I'm doing it wrong. I don't know how to do it. What's wrong with me? No. If you feel that way, you are my people. And now that's why I teach it because people like us need an accessible tool. So I break it down. I give you exactly what you need, none of what you don't, and you will leave a different person. You will leave your best self because we are doing We're doing functional movement, we're doing breath work, we're doing yoga, but we're also connecting back to who we are through workshops and then through nature immersive experiences. And I cannot wait. You know, Susan, with the people that you've hosted in your own experience, the transformation that happens is almost beyond words. And so I'm doing my best, but it's just, it lights up my heart so much to be able to hold space for the women who are holding everything for everyone else.
Yes, and I'm in the same boat where there is something that magical that happens when you take that first leap of faith to say that I am worth the investment of the time, the money, getting away, shutting things down. But it can also be really, really scary to do all of that if you're not used to it. Um, so both of us just really want to encourage you if you're like, oh my gosh, Costa Rica sounds incredible. And then you get in your head and you start feeling all the like what you can't, you can't do that. I shouldn't. Well, stop shitting all over yourself and contact Sarah. Tell us where we can find out information about your luxurious retreat in the Costa Rican cloud forest.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it's breathewithsarah.com, and you'll see a little tab for retreats, and you can find all of the information there.
It's in February, right?
It's in October of
Right.
2026.
October.
So,
I don't know why I was thinking it was in February. October. Yes. So plenty of time to get
yeah.
your ducks in a row. And do you have any, maybe I am like, yes, this sounds great, but I am super scared. I don't know what, like, can I work with you before I get there so that I'm not so overwhelmed by the time I get there? And if so, how do I do that?
Yes, absolutely. So everything can be found with breathewithsarah.com. My socials are my name, Sarah Ariaudo. But before the retreat, so if you're excited or interested in the retreat, I'm doing coaching before to get you in the right mindset and your body to be prepared for that. This is not like a crazy strict diet. Again, I make everything accessible. I worked with cancer patients, right? So we take what's accessible and what's needed and we just ditch the rest. Then I'm also starting a group uh, coaching program, or I should say, starting another cohort. I do it quarterly, and the next one is starting in October of this year. So you can join the group coaching and break down those barriers of the self worth. I guarantee you will have relief in stress, anxiety, and improved self worth, or I keep coaching you for free. So it's really a no risk and it gets you to see the value of investing in yourself. I struggled with that myself. And I think we're told we coach on what we struggled with because we can relate. I would drop $200 a month on my daughter's gymnastics, another 150 on her dance, and then $400 a season in soccer. And I'm like, oh, am I worth it? Can I get my Pilates membership? Of course I am. Look at how much I'm spending on my daughter, and I don't even think twice. But I was hesitant on $100 a month membership to be healthy and fit. It's ridiculous. And so just really working on you give to so many people, but who's giving to you? And you can't give from an empty cup. So I'm here to support you.
Amazing. And it is so true. I think whenever I finally came to the conclusion, because I always used my kids, my family as sort of my excuse. Well, I can't go to the gym because surely if I do, my kids will die. And I'll tell you what, I went to the gym and came home and nobody died. It was the wildest thing. And then my kids I started working out at home for various reasons because that was the way I could stay consistent. And they would come and interrupt me. They were 9 and 12 at the time. They would come and interrupt me, and I would be like, fine, not gonna do it anymore. Because remember, I was the yelling, stressed out mom. And they're like, no, 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 no. Go ahead. We'll be over here. Like they knew that it was benefiting me in the sense that it was benefiting them because I was much more or less stressed and calmer and cooler when I was actually taking care of myself. But then when I realized the impact that that had on them, certainly I felt better and they were no longer getting whatever was left over at the end of the day. Instead, I got the fun mom that I'd always dreamed of being, riding the bikes and going down the slides on the playground. Now, if you do that as just an adult by yourself, it's weird, but like if you have kids with you, you're a cool mom. So I'm all about that. But it really took like the mindset shift that taking care of yourself is not selfish. And so I love that you're in a equal, like we're here to change the world by letting people know and changing the culture around that. But and I'll make sure all your stuff is also in the show notes. But for the woman who feels like she's stuck, she doesn't know where to begin, what encouragement would you leave with her today?
That's such a great question. I would say, what would you tell your best friend? Because we have so much grace for our best friends, and yet the things that we say to ourselves, whether it's through thought or through actually saying it or how we treat ourselves, it's nasty. I do a whole thing with some of my clients on that. And the inner critic it doesn't belong there. You don't need it because you would never say or think those things to your best friend. So look yourself in the mirror and know that you are your best friend and you deserve that same amount of grace.
Oh, that's so good. And I think about a lot of times things that have come out of my mouth and what my daughters hear, even just being self-conscious on the beach in my swimsuit and like, oh, I don't want to do the cannonball because somebody might see too much of my butt cheeks. Whatever it is, like that. I have so many clients when I was doing a lot of more weight loss stuff that would come to me, and their whole relationship with diets was because their mom was a chronic dieter. And so I think it is so powerful, whether you frame it as a way you would talk to your best friend or even your child. Like you would never tell your child not to do something that's going to bring them joy and change their life and help them sleep better at night and live life to the fullest and have these epic adventures. Like everybody wants that, right? So I appreciate that message for sure. And before we jump off, I'm so grateful for your time. Is there anything else that you want to add today?
Yes, actually, thank you for asking that question. So I'm going to modify a quote that I heard I tell it to my clients. I think it'll serve your people as well. And it serves us. And so the modification that I've come up with for this quote is, if the question is, how do I teach my children to be strong and confident and know that they're worthy? You can say whatever you want. They aren't listening, they're watching. So how do you treat yourself?
Ooh, so good and so true. And what a powerful, powerful thing. Like that will literally, I mean, I had the beauty of starting all over in my 40s. So all of the mistakes that I made with the first two, I get to redo, which I feel a little bit guilty about. But I will say that coming from a place of health and happiness in my 40s with my younger two, they have a much different version of me and a much different outlook. I mean, older, wiser, whatever. I am grateful though that my 19-year-old daughter goes with me on field trip Fridays for our homeschool adventures. So she still gets to experience the fun version of me that didn't come along until she was like maybe 10 or 12. But anyway, that's such a powerful thing, and I appreciate you so, so much for taking time. This was a lot of fun, and hopefully we can do it again soon.
Yes, thank you so much, Susan. It's like talking to a best friend. I really love being here.
For sure. We'll have to figure out some more ways to get our groups of people to intertwine. That would be amazing. Thanks for hanging out with me on this episode of Faith Over Pharma. If something stirred in you today, share this with a friend who's ready to stop outsourcing their health and start healing the way God designed. And if you're ready to stop chasing symptoms and start healing at the root, head over to faithoverpharma.org to grab tools, join the movement, or book a free call. Until next time, keep questioning the narrative, protecting your peace, and walking in the truth that your body was made to heal.